He's officially called off trade talks with Canada.
He is ending all trade talks with Canada effective immediately over a Canadian television ad opposing U.S. tariffs.
The U.S. president just signed off on 25% tariffs on medium and heavy truck imports starting next month.
We are going to double our non-U.S. exports. So I announced our plan to double our non-U.S. exports over the course of the next decade. That's more than $300 billion in new trade. We can do that because we have much of what the world wants.
America just lit the fuse, and this time it's not China on the receiving end, it's Canada. Last week, President Donald Trump signed an executive order slapping a 25% tariff on imported medium and heavy trucks, a move he called a victory for American workers. And just days later, Trump took it even further, announcing the end of all U.S.-Canada trade negotiations after a viral Canadian ad quoted Ronald Reagan warning that tariffs destroy jobs.
Tariffs inevitably lead to retaliation by foreign countries and the triggering of fierce trade wars. Then the worst happens. Markets shrink and collapse, businesses and industries shut down, and millions of people lose their jobs. Throughout the world, there's a growing realization that the way to prosperity for all nations is rejecting protectionist legislation and promoting fair and free competition.
He called it fake.
He's wrong. It's not fake. It's not AI. And I can prove this to you by showing you that same clip, but with video this time, direct from the Ronald Reagan Library.
Over the long run, such trade barriers hurt every American worker and consumer.
Experts say the ad was real, just edited to compare Reagan's warning to Trump's own policy. Inside closed-door meetings across Ottawa, Toronto, and Windsor, the mood wasn't fear. It was focus. Because Canada knows something Trump doesn't. When you pull one thread of North American trade, the entire web starts to shake. Trump's order came without warning. No negotiation, no transition period. And yet, it targeted a backbone of Canada's economy, automotive manufacturing. But the real twist? Every single Ford, GM, or Ram truck that rolls out of a U.S. factory uses Canadian-made components. Engines, frames, sensors, wiring. So when America taxes Canadian imports, it isn't hurting Canada alone, it's taxing its own vehicles. For decades, the border between Ontario and Michigan has been the busiest trade corridor on the planet. Nearly $2 billion worth of goods cross it every single day. Now, with this tariff, that rhythm has been disrupted. Factories on both sides are confused. Supply chains are freezing. And the reaction in Ottawa? Swift, silent, surgical. Prime Minister Mark Carney, a former banker known for calm precision, gathered his ministers behind closed doors. Their decision wasn't emotional. It was strategic.
We can't control the trade policy of the United States. It's a situation where the United States has tariffs against every one of their trading partners. And that's the focus, is developing new partnerships and opportunities, including with the economic giants of Asia.
If the U.S. wants to play hardball, then Canada will play chess. Their conclusion, America's move will backfire. Here's why. For every U.S. job these tariffs might protect, 2 others will be endangered. Because when the cost of imported truck parts rises, American manufacturers can't compete. Ford, GM, and Stellantis warned Washington within hours. We can't make trucks without Canadian components. And the irony? These same companies had invested billions in U.S. plants just to align with Trump's earlier Made in America push. Now his own policy threatens to choke them. By day 2 of the announcement, the Canadian dollar dipped slightly, but U.S. auto stocks took the real hit. Analysts from the Canadian Vehicle Manufacturers Association estimated a staggering $188 billion in increased U.S. manufacturing costs by 2028. That's not a warning, that's a countdown. Because tariffs don't isolate, they echo. And the echo just started. And now, with trade talks officially terminated after that viral Reagan ad, that echo isn't just growing, it's turning into an earthquake. But here's where Canada played it like a chess master. Instead of protesting, they pivoted. Companies that stay and hire locally get full support. Those that move to the U.S. lose everything. That's not retaliation, that's evolution. The move sent a message across the globe. Canada isn't the little brother anymore. This is the era of EVs, clean tech, and minerals, and Canada owns the map. With its lithium mines, nickel reserves, and EV battery projects backed by European investors, Canada isn't begging for trade. It's offering it on new terms. The U.S. just gave them a reason to accelerate independence. Back in 2018, during Trump's steel tariffs, Mexico hit back with a 20% tariff on U.S. pork exports. Farmers in Iowa and Illinois lost $2 billion in less than a year. This time, the scale is bigger, because Canada isn't fighting alone. It's backed by allies, new trade corridors, and energy leverage.
We have much to discuss in deepening our relationship.
Meanwhile, small U.S. businesses are panicking. Truck dealers in Texas and Ohio report prices jumping 12 to 15% overnight. Supply delays could stretch for months. One Detroit factory manager told Bloomberg, "We're cutting shifts, not hiring." How is that protecting jobs? Canada's strategy isn't loud. It's quiet, and that's what makes it dangerous. While Washington blusters with slogans, Ottawa builds systems, EV infrastructure, domestic sourcing, alliances with Europe and Indonesia. They're not playing defense anymore. They're building offense with diplomacy. Europe's energy crunch after 2022 made Canadian energy exports a lifeline. Germany, France, and the UK are already negotiating long-term supply contracts. If Ottawa redirects its oil, gas, and critical minerals toward Europe and Asia, America could lose its quiet monopoly on North American resources. Trump's tariff wasn't just a political stunt. It was a global ripple. Canada inked Asia-Pacific trade agreements that unlocked billions.
Carney has been busy here, holding one-on-ones with the leaders of Vietnam, Laos, and the Philippines.
Trump's tariffs may have isolated the U.S., but they've connected everyone else. A single signature in Washington triggered factory slowdowns in Michigan, price surges in Texas, counter tariffs from Canada, and new global trade routes rising overnight. In trying to protect American jobs, Trump may have just launched the biggest trade shift North America has seen in 30 years. The tariff war was supposed to trap Canada. Instead, it woke a sleeping giant. Behind the headlines, something historic was unfolding. Canada wasn't waiting for Washington's approval anymore. They were signing deals across oceans, and every signature chipped away at America's dominance. It started with Indonesia, the world's largest nickel producer. The deal? Eliminate 95% of tariffs on Canadian exports by 2026. In exchange, Indonesia gains access to Canadian clean tech and EV battery innovation. It's not just business, it's strategy. Indonesia supplies the minerals, Canada builds the batteries, and Asia buys the cars. A complete circle that bypasses the United States entirely. Within months, Canadian exports to Asia surged 48%, setting new records. And for the first time in modern history, U.S. auto exports were no longer the most dominant in North America. Every tariff that was supposed to bring jobs home ended up pushing markets away. Europe was next. The EU-Canada Green Minerals Pact opened direct channels for lithium, cobalt, and graphite, the core materials of the electric age. One EU commissioner said it bluntly, "Canada offers reliability, the U.S. offers risk." That line hit Washington harder than any speech Trump could give. Back home, Trump continued his rallies, promising strength, repeating slogans, calling tariffs the art of winning. But in Detroit and Ohio, factory lights were dimming, parts were delayed, contracts frozen, and workers laid off. The administration blamed global uncertainty, but economists called it what it was: self-inflicted isolation. Reports leaked that American firms lost $210 billion in trade volume within a year. Even Republican governors were pleading behind the scenes, "We can't keep paying for symbolic wars." But Washington wasn't listening, because the story had shifted from economics to ego. Meanwhile, Canada celebrated its biggest manufacturing boom in decades. The Windsor EV megaplant opened 2 months ahead of schedule. 10,000 new jobs, record production speed. Ford and Stellantis, once nervous about staying, doubled down, announcing $6 billion in expansions. Carney called it the Great Reindustrialization, and the world took notice. North America, once a unified economic engine, was now drifting apart. Every analyst in New York could see it. Canada's GDP was climbing, exports diversifying, energy markets widening, the U.S. flatlining. And for the first time since World War II, America wasn't the automatic center of gravity. Global analysts began calling it the new trade order. Instead of one superpower controlling trade routes, we now had a web of interlocking alliances. Canada with Europe, Europe with Asia, Asia with Africa, and the United States, slowly being left behind. Washington absent as allies move on. Back to U.S., thousands of skilled workers who believed tariffs would protect their livelihoods are now staring at empty order sheets and locked gates. They were told these policies would bring jobs home, but instead, the costs came home first. For many, it feels like the price of protectionism is being paid by the very people it promised to save. Meanwhile, Ottawa's tone shifted from defensive to visionary. Carney declared, "We will not compete by isolation. We will lead by connection." Canada positioned itself as the world's bridge nation. The BBC called it Canada's golden decade. Bloomberg named Carney the most strategic leader of 2025. And Washington, still drafting retaliatory tariffs, now mostly symbolic. Because power doesn't come from punishment anymore. It comes from partnership. Trump's tariffs were meant to secure dominance. They triggered decentralization. They were designed to protect America. They propelled its neighbor into a new system that no longer needs America's permission. Empires fall, not when they're defeated, but when the world learns to live without them. But this isn't the end, because as North America splits economically, a new question emerges. Who will lead the global economy's next chapter? Canada, China, or someone else entirely? Do you think America made the right move, or just started the next global crisis? Will Canada's bold counterstrike reshape the future of North American trade, or will it spark an even bigger economic battle? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let's see how divided the world really is.